Let's see. Oh, I get questions repeatedly. Why is it that we can't allow? Why can't we just put the marijuana in the local pharmacies? And if you could address that.
Yes, the pharmacies are actually regulated through a pharmacy board in California, and the drugs that are dispensed in the pharmacy must be regulated through the Federal Food and Drug Administration, and medical marijuana is not such a medication.
Okay. Right. Another thing that, well, two things. I think we've got to address the issue about edibles. I think we would be somewhat naive not to think that a great deal of the cannabis is consumed through edibles, and that to say that they can't be, I mean, we need to have some kind of provision that if in fact we're going to allow collectives, we are not determining the way that the cannabis is used. So
our suggestion would be that if you allow edibles, and you certainly can do that, that there be some provision for for health department inspection.
Absolutely. And that was one of my things that I sent forth. I think we need to have that in place, because otherwise I think it's going to be an area that's going to be constantly tested, and with good reason, because I think that's in many people's way that's a preferred use of it. The other thing I had concerned about, and especially if we get into the issue about the growing of marijuana on the premises, wherever those premises be, or the maintaining of plants on the premises, is that we have some provisions about the disposal of the nutrients and the fertilizers and the pesticides, in some cases the fungicides that are used on these plants, that the water not be disposed of into the regular water system, down the drain, down the sinks. I know actually if you take a look at, and I know we have the gentleman from Holland, and I appreciate him being here. I also was doing some research about what's going on in Canada, because they've had so many places where marijuana has been grown that when those individuals leave the location, that they have identified very serious problems in some of the buildings. And one of them is the disposal of the pesticides, the fungicides, the fertilizers, the issue about trash disposal. And so if we could address it, I know we make medical clinics utilize medical disposal for any disposal of the materials that they're using, and I would be concerned that we address that as well. And the other thing that they're running into in other places is that, and I think you've addressed it a little bit about the structural changes, is that some of the structural changes being made in buildings to accommodate growing actually has resulted in unsafe conditions. And so if we're going to do this and mandate that it be grown on the premise, then we've got to be very clear about venting and electrical wiring, and the problem with excess moisture developing very serious mold problems because of the humidity that's used. And so I would hope if we do that, we put those provisions in. If we're saying you have to grow it on premise, then we need to have these other health and safety, I think. And the other thing about the reventing, the issue about they're seeing an uptick in carbon monoxide poisoning because the vents get changed. So all those things, I think, if we're going to do that and we require it, then we've got to have the health and safety provisions there as well.
And Councilwoman Schipske, in the draft ordinance, there is the provision for the fully dimensioned site plan, including plumbing, mechanical, electric, and that would then trigger the various departments, the health department, development services, code enforcement, to go to the location and point out the requirements that may fall under the catch-all.
I saw that provision, and I responded back to Mr. Shannon on that. I don't think it goes as far as the issue about the medical waste, the disposal, and the water supply, and where these things are dumped out, because a great deal of water is obviously used in cultivation.
And those provisions could easily be included in the ordinance.
Mm-hmm. And I think that protects both the individuals who are growing it and also the neighborhood, so that this stuff is not disposed of in a way it shouldn't be. And I thank you.
Thank you.